Hello everyone, hope you all doing well. I Poonam Patil, Assistant Professor on behalf of Konkan Gyanpith Rahul Dharkar College of Pharmacy and Research Institute Karjat, welcome all the participants on the third day of Student Development Program on career opportunities in various fields of pharmacy organized under KG Sanjeevani Continued Learning Webinar Lecture Series. This is great initiative taken by our management and beloved principal Dr. Mohan Kale to organize student development program in this lockdown period to unlock the students' mind with new opportunities in pharmacy sector. On day 1 and day 2 of SDP, we heard Mr. Ayad Sufi, Mr. Dinesh Dambe, and Ms. Sushmita's brainstorming sessions. The sessions focused on pharmacist skill development and career in life sciences. With this quick overview of SDP, I once again would like to welcome you all, especially for the late joiners on this third day of Student Development Program. It's my privilege to welcome our today's guest of honor, an expertise from corporate sector, Mr. Sachin Tadge. Welcome, sir. I feel great honored to introduce him. At present, Mr. Sachin Tadge is Assistant General Manager at Acutest Research Laboratories Private Limited. Before this, he was a project manager at Cognizant Technology Solutions in pharmacovigilance. He has also work experience as process executive at Tata Consultancy Services. His expertise and offered trainings in various fields like pharmacovigilance, complaint management, signal detection, clinical operations, time management, laws of India, professional personality development, people management, spiritual power and career, and so on. Mr. Sachin has extensive knowledge of the latest and most effective technical methods in clinical researches and training. He also received various certifications like Train the Trainer, Green Belt Six Sigma, Lean Six Sigma, Facet, Art of Communication, Frontline Leadership, and Embark Ideal Team Lead. With this brief introduction and without further delay, I would request our today's eminent speaker, Mr. Sachin Targi, to deliver his talk. Sir, you can start the session.
Okay. Uh, Thank you, ma'am. Thanks, Open Gyanpit, for inviting me for this lecture. And as I see, this is the third day of a session, and this is really a good initiative by the college because during this lockdown, there are many things are locked, and people are unable to move anywhere, and they want to explore themselves, but there are limitation. But by giving this opportunity by college and giving webinars, this will definitely going to really helpful to everyone. So with this, as ma'am already introduced me, I think we will directly pitch on to the today's topic. Okay. So before starting my topic, I just wanted to focus on two terms that we are generally aware. Okay. One term is information and another term is knowledge. Okay. So there is a difference between information and knowledge. Information, as we can go on Google or anywhere, there are and lots of information available. If I am from pharmacy background, but if I want to know anything about engineering, if anything about the medical, I'll go on Google, I'll search with that term, I'll get the information. But is that only information is useful? No. Okay, I'll give a simple example. If suppose I want to fly a plane, I'll go on Google, I'll search how to fly a plane, I'll get the information. But unless if anyone is there next to me to guide me how to fly the plane with the information, that will really going to help. So with this a simple note, I'll start my today's topic, career path, different career paths in the field of clinical research. Most of you are aware about the clinical research. Some of you are new to this terminology. So today's our focus is to give an introduction of different career paths in the field of pharmacology, CDM, then pharmacovigilance, then we have the signal detection, regulatory affairs, everything. And as a pharmacy student or any life science student, if you want to explore your career in this field, how you need to do the preparation. So, as I mentioned, we have information on the webinars, we have the information on the net, but how to apply that information, that will be a key success, and that I call as a knowledge. Okay, so with this, I'll move on to the next point. So just we will set some basic, you can say the criteria for today's webinar. So after 30-35 minutes, we'll have a short question and answer session. Whatever question you have, you can just post, and I'll try to answer the relevant one. If the questions are irrelevant, I will definitely answer that on later on, because everyone are there, so we'll value our time and we'll try to give answer for all relevant questions. Okay, with that, I'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so I generally keep this 5W in my mind whenever I attend any lectures, seminars, or like whenever I deliver or whenever I attend any lectures and seminar. So this 5W is for you, those who are now joining this webinar. So first, why is what we are learning today. So today we are learning about career opportunities and options after completion of the pharmacist or after completion of any life science course. And why this is important. Second W is why this is important, because most of the time as a pharmacy graduate or maybe as any life science graduate, we have a question mark like what is my career. For pharmacist, we only have option generally thought about after completion of B Farm. Either some are planning to do M Farm and PhD, some are planning to make their career after the graduation. So they are planning to go for marketing, and some are going for F&D, R&D, and production. But we do have a limited option in the field of pharma after our graduation or post-graduation. Yes, this is very important to know. There is a huge scope in the field of clinical research. Clinical research is a big umbrella. So first, what we are learning? We are learning about the career opportunity after completion of your graduation in the pharmacy or life science. This is why this is important, because you will came to know at the end of session that you have a plenty of different opportunities in the field of clinical research where it is applicable. Okay, once you complete your graduation, post graduation, this will be applicable for any life science or any pharmacy or any like I'll also include a medical professional also, because there is a huge demand for medical doctors to be a part of this field. So it's applicable for all pharmacy and life science graduate. When it need to be implemented. Okay, so I will say there is one saying like when we awake, that will be the start of our day. So those who are already aware about the clinical research field as a big umbrella, so that will be a good news for you, that you are already aware about what are options that you have. But as I mentioned, you may have information. Okay, so today we are going to put knowledge in that, and the combination of information and knowledge will definitely give you a key of success, or you can say at least a path for your career. And last W is who all are benefit from it. Those who all want to make their career in the field of clinical research. I am talking about, I'm using this phrase of clinical research eh, because the clinical research is big umbrella and there are many options. And as you have information like PV, that is pharmacovigilance, clinical data management, medical writing, regulatory affairs. So these are some major pillars of clinical research. Okay, so who all are benefit from it? Those who want to make a career in the field of clinical research and those who are from life science background, including pharmacy and medical professions. Those who like all they are will definitely going to take a benefit from this session by end of this session. Okay, so as I mentioned, I will take a question answer every 30 minutes now. In my clock, it's 11:19 a.m. So what we will do, I'll take a pause around 11:50 or 45 just to answer any questions if there are some question uh, for me which is related to our session. With this, we'll move on to our next slide. Okay, so today I'm going to cover introduction of clinical research, as clinical research is a big umbrella. So just I will touch base on definition part, and I'll give the overview of what is exactly the clinical research is. Then we'll talk about the pharmacovigilance. Then we talk about the clinical data management. Then together we will see what do you mean by good clinical practice. Okay, and this will cover our first part, and the second part is about your opportunities in India market. Like most of those who are planning to work want to make career in India. So what are the opportunity that are available in Indian market? Opportunity in Indian market, then career opportunities, different career opportunity. What is the eligibility to make a career, and what are different database that are generally used in the field of clinical research for different sections. And finally, we'll have a final question answer session. Okay. With this, I'll move on next slide. That is the drug discovery and those who are from life science and those who are from pharmacy, they are aware about this basic chart that we are follow for any drug discovery and development. Okay, so uh, when we launch our new drug, okay, so we call as new drug entity, and for that we need to start with our preclinical trial. Preclinical trial is generally done on, you can say, we call this as an animal study, where we are checking the efficacy and toxicity of a new molecule. If that molecule are very much effective in, you can say, the preclinical trial, that is during animal study, then we move on to a clinical trial. Okay, and in the clinical trial, as we all aware, human volunteers are involved. When this clinical trial concept started, then after some time we came to know that there are some adverse effect occurred for the new drug molecules due to, you can say, initially we call that as a side effect, and then we later on came to know there is a difference between the side effect and adverse effect. Then we found that there are some ethical issue as well, because it involves human volunteers and there is a drug toxicity also. So with this, some, you can say, the signals, high alert, there is a requirement to place something in a place to protect human volunteers and to have a track on how we can protect our human volunteer, and there should be some rules and regulation has to be the place, so that no one will randomly do anything and which will cost for someone life as a volunteer life. So with this, there are some historical background. So what I will do, like I will, I'll have some 2 3 slide, and I will just brief you on that, and then we'll understand how it is working. So there are many historical key things happen in the past, due to which there is a high requirement, tremendous requirement to have some ethical rules and regulation in place to conduct any clinical trial. In 1946, okay, in 1946 in Germany, in German, the physician conducted the medical experiment on prisoners. Okay, it was during the war situation, during the Nazi rule, but the physician have not taken any concern from the prisoners, and there are many that happen. So this is first alarm that was there in the past. We all know, those who are aware about the pharmacovigilance. So this is the very famous and well-known example of thalidomide tragedy. Thalidomide drug generally used during the pregnancy for mortal sickness, but after some time we found that physicians found that there is a or you can say the severe adverse drug reaction with a newborn baby. You can see in the second picture. This is first picture during Germany, in Germany, where physician conducted the medical experiment on prisoners. This is the second picture for 1962 for thalidomide tragedy. And due to thalidomide, there is no severe reaction for mother, but there is a serious adverse reaction for newborn baby, and the symptom that we all know is phocomelia, hand and limbs syndrome. And 1964, due to this major incidents, historical incidents, there is a declaration, there is a recommendation guideline for medical doctors for conducting a human, whenever there is you can say like there is an involvement of any human volunteer. The guideline has been placed first time in 1964. Okay, so this is what we called as historical, you can say the base for that. Okay, now we will just understood how this is the concept of clinical research came into the place, and what was, you can say, what are the different scenarios came into the picture. Okay, so I'll draw something so that it will be a very useful for all of you, and it will be very clear to everyone. Okay, so as we know that whenever we already explained that to for any new drug molecule, okay, we saw that. I'll just confirm whether my screen is visible. Uh, Ajay sir, please confirm if my paint screen is visible.
Yes, sir, it is visible. Hello.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So it's visible,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. 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 So as we know that for any new drug molecule, we are doing a preclinical trial and then clinical trial. Okay. So if any drug which in a preclinical trial majorly pass the efficacy test, then you can say the toxicity test, and different sex, like male, female, races, and all that. Okay, with this, you can say the preliminary investigation, the drug then entered into a clinical trial phase where human volunteers are involved. Okay, clinical trial. There are many side effects, adverse effects are occurred, but as these are animal testing, okay, we can only observe if there is a sudden death, toxicity, which cause death or any deformities in the animal. But there are minor things which are not get considered, because like animals are there's a limitation, we can't explore that results because whatever results that we have is depend on the lab data that we are doing, like the blood sugar level that we are checking for if any diabetes project are there, for hypertension with the plus with the device we can just check the heartbeats and everything. But there are many things which are there which is not get calculated during preclinical trial, and then the new drug molecule, and we also called as IND, investigation new drug molecule. Okay, then we enter in the clinical trial phase where human volunteers are in, and with that we know that there are many things happen as we see in history. The first and most things are happening. There are many adverse events and serious adverse event. These two are a different terminology. We will see that this terminology later on. Occur during the clinical trial. There is an ethical issue. That means whatever human volunteers are involved in the trial, the first and most important part is to have informed consent. That means whatever volunteers are involved in the clinical trial, they should involved in the trial with their willingness. There should be a positive willingness of volunteers in the trial. There should be a complete awareness. The first thing is the willingness. Second thing is complete awareness. The volunteer should completely aware like what is going to happen with him, what type of treatment he will receive, and what type of you can say if any adverse reactions or what type of effect will be there with that treatment. The volunteer should be very much clearly informed and aware about it, and there should be a written documentation. So this is the ethical part of human volunteers. And if there is a drug toxicity for any class of drug, it should be informed before start of the trial only. So considering this all factor, adverse event, serious adverse reaction, ethical issue, drug toxicity, and other effect, there is a formation of ICH. ICH. We all aware about this ICH, Conference on Harmonization, just to set a thumb rule whenever we are doing any clinical trials, and there should be proper documentation. It should be happen, and all trials should be taken as per the guideline of ICH. So ICH gave the guideline to all regulatory authorities of different you can say there are different regulatory authorities for different countries. Guidelines are given for regulatory authorities to conduct clinical trial. Okay, so we are here up to this point. I hope this is clear. And if anyone has any question, you can just put that into your chat box. I'll answer that after some time. So, with this concept of ICH, there is a huge requirement to have some rules and regulation to conduct all type of clinical trial. And with this concept of clinical trial, okay, there is a formation of different a smaller unit which divide all this clinical trial into different phases, just to have monitoring and just to have analysis and just to have reporting. First part, like one of the first part is pharmacovigilance activity. One of the second part is clinical data management. Then medical writing. Okay, this is medical writing, and there are many more. With this clinical trial, we all know that phases starting from phase first to phase three, which is conducted during the clinical trial, and there is phase four, which is post-marketing surveillance once the drug is out of the market. Okay, so we are here till this point. So what we saw till this point, like drug discovery started with preclinical and clinical trial. There are human volunteers involved, and there are some high alarm things that happen, due to which we need to place some committee who control on this all clinical trial activities. Then we also saw the historical background, why there is a formation of ICH, and you can say different activities that we need to take consider under the clinical trial. So before that, as I mentioned, okay, so there is a formation of international conference on harmonization. Okay, why? What was the intention? Okay, the international conference on harmonization of technical requirement for registration of pharmaceuticals for human use. So during an interview, so I will emphasize whatever I'm covering, and I will relate that where this will be useful for you. So many time in interview, interviewer will ask you the question, what do you mean by ICH? And they will definitely ask you the full form. So International Conference on Harmonization, if you say, this will be the half answer. The complete answer will be the International Conference on Harmonization of the technical requirement for registration of pharmaceuticals for human use. So, what do you understand by this? As we saw that graph in the paint, that there is a huge requirement to have some rules, regulations for conducting any clinical trials on human. So, with that intention, this ICH was formed, which is a jointly initiative by experts in the pharmaceutical industries from Europe, Japan, and United States. So when it was formed initially, it was formed along with the European, Japanese, and USA pharmaceutical industry, and there are some leaders to discuss the scientific and technical aspect of pharmaceutical product registration. If I am registering any pharmaceutical product, okay. So what are the guidelines that I need to follow? So with the aim of that, this ICH has been formed. Okay. So we'll just see a quick ICH guideline by this is formed and what was main objective. The first and most objective to provide a unified standard. So standard for taking a clinical trials, taking for a human volunteer. So there will be a standard set by ICH for all regulatory agencies. That means for all countries there are different regulatory agencies, and as per the region, as per the population, the guidelines are given to each regulatory agency to conduct, you can say, the human to conduct any trials on human. Initially, it was with Europe, US, and Japan to facilitate a mutual acceptance of clinical data. So there are two basic, you can say, part for any clinical trial. There is actual practical clinical trial going on, and whatever clinical trial, you can say, the process is going on, everything has to be documented. Okay, so that's why, just for understanding, I have divided this clinical research. This is not any, you can say, this is not classification given anywhere. This is just for your understanding. I have divided clinical research in two parts. Okay, one part is your research part, and one part is your data part. What do you mean by research? Where actual research is going on, like research and development, like if our any new molecule is there, if it is still in developing phase, if some toxicity reactions occur during preclinical trial only, then accordingly pharmaceutical company has to change their molecule. Okay, they need to do some modification, and it's a continuous process until unless we will get a good, if we efficient drug during the preclinical trial. There is actual phase testing going on during the clinical trial. As we all know, clinical trial, there are major four phases. So, excuse me. So first phase, first, second, and third phase are your clinical trial phase. Phase 4 is your post-marketing, when the drug is out to the market, and uh, any uh, if any adverse drug reaction occur during phase 4, then it is getting captured in the department of pharmacovigilance. And whatever we are doing from start of our project, like start of our trial, that is like phase 1, 2, 3, whatever we are doing, everything has to be documented in clinical data management. Okay, so there is one department called as pharmacovigilance, which generally deals with all adverse drug reactions, serious adverse drug reaction. That means pharmacovigilance is deal with whatever reactions, whatever untoward reactions occurred during the clinical trial or after the clinical trial. Everything has to be documented in the big umbrella called as pharmacovigilance. And whatever we are doing, what type of doses are given, how many volunteers are involved, how many patients are involved, everything has to be documented in the clinical data management. Okay, so clinical operations, which include the clinical trial and reporting, like to whom we need to report and to how we need to report, what are the frequency of reporting, everything will be covered under the clinical operation. And regulatory authorities are continuously keep more tab on what are things are going on clinical trials, clinical operation. And as I mentioned, during the clinical trial also, there is a frequency of reporting what we are doing. Suppose, for example, I started with one drug where I'm doing the clinical trial, and I'm making that drug in USA. So there is a frequency that I need to report my result and whatever I'm doing to US FDA, like once in a 3 month. So whatever I am doing, that I need to report to US FDA. So that is the regulatory authority of US, which is having the control on all clinical trials. Okay, with the same line. So just for your understanding, in clinical research, these are the research part, and there are some data parts. So whatever happening during and out of the trial, it has to be maintained, monitored in all this section. First is your pharmacovigilance, where we are monitoring, maintaining all adverse drug reactions, side effect, everything. Whatever we are doing during the clinical trial from phase 1 to 3 and in phase 4 also, it has to be maintained in the clinical data management. If there are some expected adverse drug reaction, but there are some unexpected adverse drug reaction, so that I need to maintain or that I need to capture under signal detection. So we will see everything one by one. And clinical research organization. So this is the one part of, you can say, the outsourcing. These are the outsourcing industry where you can see they will give the support for pharmacovigilance, clinical data management, medical writing, signal detection, everything. There are many clinical research organizations, they are supporting the clinical trial as well. Okay, so this is for your understanding. Okay, I hope this till this point we all are clear, very much clear. Okay, as I mentioned, you can see. Okay, so if till this point, if anyone is having any question, you can just put your question, uh, and Ajay sir or Amol sir, you can just drag that question here so that I can answer. Okay. Okay, so we'll touch base on this topic. We'll start with what is clinical research. Okay.
Yeah, Sachin sir,
Yeah. Tell me.
uh, there is a question put by student
Uh-huh.
Swati Batra uh,
Okay.
that regulatory authority means drug regulatory affairs department domain.
Yeah. If we specifically talk about regulatory authority in the sense of clinical trial, so it's a drug regulatory affair department which deals with all clinical trials activity. So there are like in a regulatory authority also, as we mentioned, like there is a huge umbrella where there are different departments. They are deal with controlling of a clinical trial, but for each country there is specifically drug regulatory authority, those who are controlling, conducting and keeping watch on all activities of clinical trials. So I hope this will answer your question. Should I move on to next slide?
Yes, you can move on.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so we are here. Okay, so we already discussed about what is the clinical research and what are the different phases that we have. So by definition, we can see. Uh, I'll just give one comment. Like I am more focusing on industrial approach of clinical research. So whatever I am covering in the slide are directly, you can say, it will be one type of your preparation for your interview whenever, like those who are already completed their pharmacies and they are like searching for the job, and for them this will be, you can say, the additional benefit. And those who are studying, so they will also aware like what type of preparation they need to do when they need to apply for the job. Okay, so whatever I am covering, so it will cover everything that whenever you want to go for your interview for pharmacovigilance, CDM, regulatory affairs, or medical writing, everything will be covered. You can say the whatever questions are there in the interview, so I am going to cover everything, and it will this will give you a good visualization. So what are the different area where you can focus for you, for, yeah, for your career path. Okay, So clinical research, we already aware, and maybe like we do have information on clinical research by definition. So clinical research is the research done on human for new medicine or improve a version of the old medicine with the aim of studying their safety, efficacy, dosage, and delivery system. Okay, this is very simple definition. If you're in an interview, if anyone asks what do you mean by the clinical research, you can say there is a discovery. Okay, there is a new medicine. Okay, and we need to find out their safety, how safe that drug is there for human efficacy, how effective that drug is there, and what amount of dose I need to give for human volunteer, and delivery system, whether that drug is I need to give orally or intramuscular, intravenous, how. So to study this activity, we call as this is called as clinical research. And if you see, this is for new medicine and to improve version of old medicine. Okay, so I want to give emphasis on old medicine as well, and I'll give a current example that everyone is aware. Okay, before that I will just complete this simple part of clinical research. So as we already see in that graphical presentation, drug discovery involves any specific target molecule, like a target molecule of any that I want to use for as a painkiller. Maybe if I need to use for TB patient, if I need to use for any specific type of patient. Okay, so that will be my targeted molecule. As I mentioned, there is a preclinical study which is going on animal efficacy and pharmacological activity, and everything will, and the toxicity study, everything is in a green. Then we move on to a clinical trial of phase 1, 2, and 3. And if all phases are good and they are having a positive result, then drug is manufactured. This is a simple, you can say, the roadmap for clinical research for any new drug molecule. And after manufacturing, there will be commercialization. That means the drug is in the market, and there is phase 4 trial. The phase 4 trial is to find out how that efficacy is there and how, if there is any adverse drug reaction or anything for any drug. Okay, so I just wanted to simplify definition. I'll just explain you with this uh, because this is very useful for you, and this will give more clarity, so that if you have, like, there will be no confusion in your mind. Okay, so as I mentioned about the clinical trial. Okay, so clinical trial are generally for all new drug. We all know a new drug application comes under new drug application. There is a investigational new drug. Okay, but to modify or to see the there is an old drug also. Okay, in the old drug we need to see uh, the advanced version. As I mentioned, we all aware, and we all came to know about that example, and you all agree with me, like we are now during this corona situation. Okay, for which drug we are doing, you can say, the clinical trials, like finding out their efficacy in you can say the for a different activity. Okay, we all know that we are checking for hydroxychloroquine. Okay, hydroxychloroquine, this is the drug. which is generally used for, we all know that this is used for malaria. Okay, that means for this hydroxychloroquine, everything is already done for malaria activity. But for the same old drug, now we are checking whether this drug is used for COVID, that is coronavirus. Okay, so with the old drug, now we are checking their efficacy for coronavirus. So that's will give the justification of our definition that we saw. Okay, it's for new and older. It's for new and older. If you see clinical research done on human for new medicine and improve the version of the old medicine. Okay, so hydroxychloroquine is already used for malaria activity. Now we are checking whether that hydroxychloroquine is really effective for the coronavirus. Okay, so we already covered this topic of ICH. Hope this is very much clear to everyone. Now we'll see what do you mean by good clinical practice, which is a part of clinical trial. So good clinical practice is an international ethical and scientific quality standard for designing, conducting, recording, and reporting of the trial that involve the participation of human subject. And as this is a requirement from ICH that there should be a good clinical practice followed during the clinical trial. It ensures that right safety and well-being of human subject. By this small graph, you can see the clinical trial or studies which involve the clinical good clinical practice, which deals with the conducting of the clinical trial, monitoring of the clinical trial, recording, analysis, reporting, and designing also. Okay, whatever we are doing during the clinical trial, okay, it should be as per GCP. Okay, and these are the standards which are given by ICH, which is International Ethical and Scientific Quality Standards, given for all countries, and all regulatory authorities need to keep a tab that all clinical trials should be followed as per the GCPs, and which mainly involve the designing, conducting, recording, reporting the trial. Okay, so this is the one part of the GCP, and we'll try to understand with simple, you can say, the presentation. I'll explain you with this simple graphical presentation. So as I mentioned, it's 11:57. If I'm open for any questions or anything, if anyone has, you can just post. And Ajay sir, you can just let me know which question I need to answer.
Yes, Sachin sir, there is a
Yeah.
question that how to enter into the clinical research jobs, whether the BPharm is whether the BPharm candidates is eligible or they have to do certain postgraduate courses.
Okay. Thanks, Ajay sir, for that. So just to answer you, like, if you are a BPharm graduate, also you can go for clinical research industry. I'm there in this clinical research industry since last 11 years, and I personally took around more than 150 interviews, and most of them are BPharm graduate. The only requirement, as I mentioned, because those who are freshers, okay, those who are freshers, so we generally check what understanding do you have about the clinical research. Okay, so as a fresher, we are not expected that you already work somewhere, or you are very much thorough about the all concept of the clinical research. Okay, so as I mentioned, in clinical research, there are bigger, you can say that there are many bigger umbrella, but out of that, most of the jobs are there for B farm, most of like 80% are there for pharmacovigilance and clinical data management. There are regulatory authority, medical writing. So any B Farm graduate, and I can see the one question from Sumit also. The scope of Farm D plus MBA in India. Yes. So those who all have a background of life science, those who understand the terminology, like what do you mean by, you can say, the what do you mean by blood sugar level. So this is a very simple term, blood sugar level. But what does blood sugar level relate with? It's related with diabetes. Okay, so in layman we call that the sugar is high. हम बोल देते हैं, अरे किसी एक बंदे का शुगर बढ़ गया है, बट व्हाट डज मीन, दिस इज हाइपरग्लाइसीमिया. ओके, किस कोई बोलता है अरे वो बंदे का शुगर लो हो गया है, सो दिस इज हाइपोग्लाइसीमिया. Those who understand a basic life science terminology, okay, and it's you can say this is very very you can say the very very essential requirement. Those who want to enter in the field of clinical research, they should understand, they should aware about all life science terminology, and that mainly related to clinical terminology. Okay, so those who are B Farm or any life science graduate, those who are fresher and are applying for job like pharmacovigilance, CDM, regulatory. So I took an interview for pharmacovigilance. I took an interview for complaints data management. I took an interview for clinical data management also. So what, as a project manager, what I looking for, that the candidate should have a basic understanding. And if you recall my first slide, there is information and there is a knowledge. Nowadays, there is a huge amount of information available on websites. Okay, you can go, whatever I am covering in the slide, you can find a better information on net. But how we understand that information, that is most important. So that's why I'm taking time to explain you what do you mean by clinical research. With the definition, you can read the definition, you can mug up the definition, and when I ask what do you mean by clinical trial, you can give, you can explain, you can just say that definition. But when I will ask some related question with the clinical trial, most of the time students are failing to address that questions, because what happened, they are only mug up the definition. Some are try to understand the definition, but most of them are failed to explain the concept. So what I really expect from everyone, those who really want to make a career, ju- not just go and read the definition, try to understand, try to find out the lines, between the lines, what is the meaning, why, what they want to what they want to you can say what they want to explain with that concept. Okay, so it is very much important to just not to have, you can say, not to have only go to the definition and just look up the definition. The basic requirement that each and whatever you are learning, whatever you are reading, you should understand. And as a fresher, if you are B Farm, if you are BSc, MSc, if you are any life science graduate, but if you understand the concept of clinical research in the depth, you will definitely going to select. So what is the procedure and everything of interview, and how interview is taken, and what are the structure, that I will definitely explain you. So I think I have answered you, answer what the previous question. So I'll move on because we need to cover most of the important parts in our upcoming sessions. Okay, so we are here. Okay, so and I'll just give you one note. Don't worry, because I will try to cover everything, and I'll give a good amount of time. What type of preparation you need to do, how you need to prepare for interview, and what are the things that you need to read. Okay, so I'll give the brief on that as well. So just a minute. Give me 1 minute. I'll take a sip of water. So Ajay sir, please confirm me if my screen is visible.
Yes, sir. You are visible.
Okay, so we are here. Okay, because I want to clear this concept of clinical trial, which is the most important, so that if everyone has understood this, this will be very much useful for any type of career opportunity where you want to go. Okay, as I mentioned, we are here. We understood what is a clinical trial, and there are some main branches where you can go. As I mentioned, this is a PV, which is one of the major branch. CDM is there. Okay, okay. Then regulatory affair. This is the department we generally use in the clinical trial, which generally deals with the data part of all clinical trials. Signal detection is altogether a different unit which is linked to your pharmacovigilance, and which is also linked to your CDM part, because whatever is there in clinical trial, we need to document in the portal. Okay, then there is a special you can say separate unit for medical writing. Okay, of which one part is covered under the PV, that is narrative writing. Okay, which is, you can say, the narrative writing is that I'll going to cover in day after tomorrow's session. Medical writing, and then with this these are the all data sections, so that uh, which is there in your clinical research part. Okay, so we are looking for good clinical practices. Okay, so as I mentioned, like ICH, ICH, okay, ICH has created some protocols. Okay, protocols, you can say, the in simple word to understand you, rules and regulation. Okay, to conduct human trials. Okay, then all these rules and regulation has been given to each country. Okay, for each country there are regulatory agencies, different regulatory agencies are there. For US we have US FDA. Okay, for India, CDS CO. Okay, so we'll see that as well. For Japan, so all these are the regulatory agencies. Okay, which will have a control on your clinical trials. Okay, and and to conduct a clinical trial, there should be a good clinical practice. Okay, so what we are looking for good clinical practice means whatever we are doing in the clinical trial, it should be as per the guideline of good clinical practice. Okay, which
Sorry
involve,
to interrupt, Sachin, sir. Sorry to interrupt.
yeah,
Your
yeah,
paint
tell
file
me.
is not visible. I think you are using paint, but your paint
Okay,
file is
paint.
not visible.
Okay. Sorry. It's my mistake. Apologies for that. Yeah. Hope this is visible now.
Yeah. Now it is visible.
Okay. Sorry, I missed on that. Okay, so I'm here. So I'm saying that in good clinical practice, okay, So there is a guideline given for each and everything. Okay. So the good clinical practice is a part of your clinical trial. Okay, and which is given by ICH. Okay, so ICH are giving the guideline to conduct a clinical trial as per the good clinical practice. Okay, which involve inclusion exclusion criteria for your volunteers, which involve how your trial is monitored, how the analysis is done, how the reporting is done. Everything is given in your good clinical practice. Okay, and in good clinical practice, there are guidelines also given. If any adverse drug reactions are there, okay, you need to report this adverse drug reaction to regulatory authority. Okay, this is adverse drug reaction. We also call as serious adverse drug reaction. These are two different terminology. We'll see that, and this comes under pharmacovigilance. Now I am taking you from, as we already covered what is ICH. Okay, why there is a role of ICH during the clinical trial, what is clinical trial, which involves the human subject. Okay, and to conduct the clinical trial there is a requirement of good clinical practice. Now in the good clinical practice, what are the different parts and what are the sub parts are involved that I'm covering now. If any adverse drug reaction and serious adverse drug reactions are there, it has to be reported. So the reporting of adverse drug reaction and serious adverse drug reaction is taken care under the pharmacovigilance. We'll see this activity. Okay, so whatever we are doing here, okay, whatever practically, theoretically and practically we are doing, everything has to be captured. So it is getting captured in clinical data management. Okay, and whatever things are there, reporting part, okay, it has been reported under the regulatory affairs. Okay, and whatever report I need to submit to regulatory authority, and that is mainly for serious adverse event. Okay, it's this will be generally taken under the medical writing. This is mainly for all fatal and life threatening event. Okay, so these are the, you can say, the classification that we have mainly for different type of studies. 1 minute. Okay, so we are here. Okay, so what we covered. So what is a good clinical practice and what is the requirement to have good clinical practice. Okay, then just to because as I mentioned, in the clinical trial there are many branches. Clinical trial is alone is a very big umbrella, and in that also there are many different things. As this is just an introductory lecture, and we are like, I'm just covering what are the major topics are available there for the clinical trials. And so and like just to understand what you need to prepare for your career in the clinical trials, and this will really, like, this will give you a good opportunity to choose which career you want to choose in under the clinical trial, as there are many different areas. Okay, so under the good clinical practice, as we know, for ABA, for, as I mentioned, there are for a different country, there are different rules and regulations are available. For US ABA under the GCP, specifically there are different sections. Okay, so there are a core of federal regulation. So these are the rules. Like for Indian law, as we have law, there are different sections. Section 420, section 136. Okay. Likewise, in clinical trial, they have made you can say the codes. Okay. So like a core of federal regulation that we need to follow. So under the 21 CFR, there is a requirement to have everything electronic documented. So whatever clinical trials we are doing, it should be documented electronically. So that means everything should be there in soft copy. There should be informed consent. There should be a disclosure if any toxicities are involved. Then there is a requirement of institutional review board. So likewise, there are some sections under good clinical practice. Okay. So one more unit is office for human. You can see there. Okay. Office for Human Research and Protection, like anything which involves any ethical issue related to humans, especially for women and for children, anything related to informed consent. It has been covered under 45 CFR of 46. And as we know, in GCP is working as per the ICH requirement. So there is a glossary. That glossary is mainly for all clinical trial terminology. As I mentioned, hyperglycemia, hypoglycemia. What do you mean by adverse drug reaction? What do you mean by informed consent? What do you mean by volunteer? What do you mean by subjects? Everything has been given. What do you mean by investigators, sponsors? Everything has been given in under that glossary. So this is just to give a brief information that as per the ICH, for all clinical trial, this is the GCP, and which involve these are the main different sections which are involved for under the GCP. Okay, this is just for your information. No one will go in much detail until unless if you are applying specifically for any you can say the documentation related work. Okay, so this is clinical data management. As I mentioned, whatever activities that we are doing from phase 1 to phase 3, starting from enrollment of your subjects and everything has to be captured. Like this is the data, yeah, as the word suggests, clinical data management. Okay, this is the management of data of your clinical trial. Okay, so before touching that point, I want to emphasize on two sections which is important to know you, so that you are very much clear about, and this is related to your career option as well. Okay, so there are two main industries. Okay, in the pharma industry. Okay, now we are dealing with clinical trial, which is directly related to your pharma industry. Some biotech industry is also involved if they want to take any trial. Okay, so as per the ICH, okay, as per the ICH, everything has to be documented and everything has to be reported. Okay, now there are main two part. Okay, one is CRO. Okay, CRO, this is clinical research organization. Okay, and another is KPO. Okay, some of you are aware about the term of the BPO, business process outsourcing. Okay, so likewise KPO is knowledge process outsourcing. Okay, and then we have a parent company. Okay, excuse me, this is I'm talking about, this is with the reference of a pharma company, parent company, and outsourcing. Okay, so those company, those who have a good facility, they have manpower, or maybe they have all facility to do all clinical trial work. Okay, these are the pharma company. They are doing their own. For example, some of example that we have, Novartis also doing by their own. Glaxo are doing some part. They are doing their own. Nicholas Piramal is there. Okay, Cipla is there. Okay, So some part of clinical trial activity they are doing their own. So these are the parent pharma company or biotech company. They are doing their clinical research activity by own. It's not necessarily they are doing 100%, but some part are they are doing their own. Okay. So these are parent pharma companies which are available in the market, and there are some job openings available in this pharma company and biotech company as well. But some company are doing their activity through CROs. This is clinical research organization. These are the third party companies or outsourcing companies. For example, we know the example of Roche, Tamiflu. We have that drug Tamiflu for swine flu. Okay, okay. If Roche wanted to do a clinical trial for Tamiflu, they are outsourcing that to any CRO. There are many CRO in the market. Like, for example, just give example, Quintiles is there, which is the CRO. Then Acutest is there, which is also CRO. Okay, they are doing the bioavailability bioequivalent studies. Okay, there are many companies are there. They are CRO. They are doing work for a parent pharma company. Okay, so Roche or any pharma company outsourcing their trials to CROs. Okay, so CRO will do their clinical trial 1, 2, 3. Okay, and whatever they are doing, they will document that and they will send report to Roche Pharma. If Roche is wanted to maintain that, or for that also Roche will outsource that to another company which is a CDM. Okay, like which is having unit of CDM. So here it comes under KPO, mainly KPO, knowledge process outsourcing, or sometimes they call it as BP also. We have example of TCS, we have example of Cognizant, we have the example of Skypomex. Okay, so these are some example of a company, those who are doing the outsourcing business for some parent pharma companies. I was there in TCS and I was working with a Roche project for pharmacovigilance. Okay, so whatever activities we are doing for Roche. Okay, and whatever adverse reaction we came across, we are not directly reporting to regulatory authority because we are not a parent pharma company. We are reporting to the Roche pharmaceutical company, and then Roche will report to regulatory authority because we are not a parent pharma company. So as per regulatory agency, only parent company has to report whatever data is there. So hope this is clear that parent pharma company, those who have a facility or those who want to do some part by their own, they are doing their own all clinical research activity. But some companies are outsourcing for clinical trials. It's generally a CRO is the first choice where they are doing all of phase 1 to phase 3 trials. For phase 4, we have pharmacological unit. Some data has been outsourced by a pharma company. As I explained you, the TCS, Cognizant, Skyformix, there are some KPOs or BPOs, those who are maintaining their pharmacological activity, CDM activity. Okay, regulatory authority, regulatory agency documentation part has been covered in this. You can say is in this sections. Okay, so this is how this is how just okay, so now we are here. Hope we are very much clear on this part. Okay, so clinical data management is the part of documentation for any outsourcing company, like any pharma company. If they outsource their business to CDM, so what they need to do. Okay, the clinical data management ensure the collection, integration, and availability of the data at the appropriate quality and cost. Okay, they need to maintain the data. Okay. It also support conduct and management and analysis of the study across the spectrum of the clinical research. as defined by the National Institute of Health. So there is a regulation given for clinical data management. So they need to follow as per that. So what generally a clinical data management includes? Okay, excuse me. So this include the you can say the which handle the case report form or electronic case report form, data access and uh, profiling. That means like whatever data is there during the clinical trial, they need to have all records for that. If any discrepancy is there, so what type of discrepancy generally happen during the clinical trial? Suppose, for example, phase one clinical trial, there is, as per a protocol, there is a requirement to have 100 volunteers, but practically there are only 95 volunteers are enrolled in that study. So there is a difference of 5 volunteers as per the protocol. So that is the discrepancy, and that this discrepancy has to be managed. Means CDM has to give a alert to investigator that we are less with the 5 volunteer, and accordingly they need to take the action. Okay. Then data integration, transformation, and migration. Whatever data you are collecting, you should be maintain, and whenever there is a requirement, you need to produce that data. And whatever data you are capturing, it will be timely, accurate, then authoritative. Then you can say whatever, whenever there is a demand, you need to produce that data. Data should be a secure data exchange. That means if I am the owner of pharma company and I am outsourcing my business to any clinical research organization or maybe any KPO, so if as this data is related to, with the patient and the subject, so there is a first and most important thing that data should be secure and no single data has been leaked outside any organization. So security is one of the you can say the most important part of any clinical trial. And audit trail, and whenever it means like whatever data is coming in, coming out, everything has to be documented, and it should be a collaborative approach with the parent pharma company and the KPO. They are maintaining that data. Okay, so this is about the clinical data management. And the next part is pharmacovigilance. What do you mean by the pharmacovigilance? Now we are now we are on a, you can say now we are on our second part where we are now discussing about a different field of clinical research where you can go and you can make your career. Okay, so whatever we discussed till this point is about clinical research as a whole. Now we are going to discuss each and every field, you can say with all brief that is required and what type of preparation you require if you want to apply for a job. Okay, now in clinical research. Okay, now we already covered what do you mean by clinical research and clinical trial. Okay, now we are going to see. Okay, we just check what do you mean by CDM, clinical data management. Okay, now all these are the part of your clinical research, clinical trial. Okay, now we are seeing it comes under data. If you recall my slide where I have given you the classification of clinical research as research and data. Now we are looking for the data, and we just touch base on what do you mean by CDM, clinical data management. Okay, now we will see what do you mean by pharmacovigilance. Okay, so all this comes under data part where we need to maintain our data and we need to do the analysis of the data. Okay, so as I mentioned, CDM cover all phase 1 to phase 3 data under the clinical data management. What does PV cover? Okay, and those who want to know what is the importance to understand this two terminology and like this two field. Okay, so guys, those who want to make a career in the CDM, okay, please note that the CDM is mainly dealing with the all data. Okay, that means it will deal with your phase 1 to phase 3, all your inclusion exclusion criteria, everything, whatever things you are doing for during this trial, everything has to be maintained. And you need to mainly see for discrepancy management, because some trials are going on some for months, some trials are going or last long for some years. Whatever things are happened during the clinical trial, everything has to be recorded under the clinical data management. Okay, then next part, this is one area, this is one, you can say, the field, career field for most of the jobs are available in the clinical data management field, we called as CDM. Okay, there are many KPOs and BPOs who are available. There are some pharma company, they are doing their own CDM part. There are some CROs also those who are doing the CDM activities. So as per my experience, what I have, you will have around 40 to 50% jobs available. I can say 30 to 40% are job available for clinical data management, which involves the, you can say that 80% is data maintenance are there. Okay, and what are the requirement if you want to apply for clinical data management? So you should be a life science graduate, as I mentioned. You should know the all pharmacological clinical terminology, pharmacological and clinical terminology you should aware. And there are some assessment required. Okay, so as per the requirement of each pharma company, so they have set up one module, and those who are fresher, they need to go and they need to give the assessment. Okay, before that there will be a training for minimum of 5 days, which involve the introduction of terminology of what is protocol, what is subject, what is inclusion criteria, what are the exclusion criteria, what is discrepancy, how the discrepancy management is done. Everything has been covered in this module. And after that, after 5 days or after 3 weeks, there will be assessment, and those who clear this assessment, they will be selected for the profile of this clinical data management. Okay. The next part is pharmacovigilance. What does pharmacovigilance deals with? Okay. So first we will see the definition, and then we will elaborate that definition. As I mentioned, I will not focus on theoretical part, but I will more focus on your understanding part. Okay. So as per the WHO, the pharmacovigilance is defined as the science and activities related to detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention of adverse effect or any other drug-related problems. Okay. So this is very simple definition, and mainly pharmacovigilance deals with adverse drug reaction. Okay. So what do you mean by pharmacovigilance? So I will explain you very simple way, because tomorrow and day after tomorrow I will going to cover pharmacovigilance in much more detail. So that will be a more helpful, because pharmacovigilance altogether is a very big topic, and it's a big area where like it will require more concentration. So what I will do, I'll give you a brief on. Okay, is there any question, Ajay sir?
Yeah,
Let
there
me
are
know.
questions coming. Questions are coming from the student side.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
So what I will do, I think there are a few slides remaining. So what I will do, I will just cover up the slide and then we will have question answer. Okay.
Yeah, 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 yes, 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 yes.
Okay. 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 So just be like a basic understanding of pharmacovigilance. Pharmacovigilance, because whenever you are going for a pharmacovigilance, this is also called as drug safety. Okay, most of the unit they are called as a drug safety. Okay, the pharmacovigilance is mainly deal with adverse drug reaction. Okay, adverse drug reaction means there is a reaction to the drug. Okay, which is there in the clinical trial, or which, which is there in the clinical trial, or which is already there in the market. That's why we call it as post marketing surveillance. Okay, which is generally used for some therapeutic application. Okay, we will take an example, simple example. We'll take a simple example, uh, like drug paracetamol, which is already in the market, and generally paracetamol used to relieve from fever. Okay, but due to paracetamol, there is an adverse drug reaction in the post marketing. Means the product is already there in market. I am taking just an example. I mean, due to paracetamol, there is a severe, you can say, the liver problems. The therapeutic use of paracetamol is to relieve pain, but it's causing severe liver problem. Okay, so this is adverse drug reaction. In a simple word, so we come to know that there is adverse drug reaction. In a simple word, if I want to define a pharmacovigilance, okay, is a pharmacovigilance is detection of adverse drug reaction, then monitoring, like I need to monitor in how percentage, how much percentage the adverse drug reaction is there. Analysis why this adverse drug reaction is there. Correlation between our suspected drug, correlation between our suspected, that means correlation with our drug and action. Okay, that means if the drug is to relieve fever, but if it is causing liver damage, I need to take some action to reduce this adverse drug reaction. So this is very simple definition of just to understand you in a simple way. Okay, okay. So if you see, I hope you all are understood. This is a detection of adverse drug reaction. Assessment means I need to assess why that adverse drug reaction is there. I need to understand what was causing adverse drug reaction. Then I need to see the prevention, how we can prevent that adverse drug reaction. Okay, which is related to your drug and what is the problem, and which is mainly focusing on your adverse drug reaction. PV is mainly focusing on your adverse drug. So this is like after you can say CDM and PV are the major data career option, those who want to avail their careers in the data. So the CDM is one option, and pharmacovigilance is the second option, which is a very good option to make a career, those who are from B-Farm or life science. Okay, so what is the need of pharmacovigilance? As I mentioned, this is it involves the human, and ADR may cause sudden death. There are severe reactions. If you recall our slide of historical background in Germany during Nazi time, doctor enrolled some prisoners, and some study has been took over, but there are many deaths occur. Okay, so there are some fatal reactions also which cause the death, and as we know that we should rationalize the use of medicines. Like if any drug is very toxic to humans, we should not give that drug. So, and there should be some ethical background. So that's why there is a requirement to have a pharmacovigilance activity. So this is the process of pharmacovigilance that we will going to see in detail in tomorrow's lecture. Okay, and as I mentioned, there are different regulatory agencies available in the market. Okay, sorry, with different countries. As we know, like FDA is there for USA. Then for Europe we have European Medicine Agency. Then for Australia we have Medicine and Health Product for regulatory agency. For Japan we have Ministry of Health and Labor Welfare. And for India we have Central Drug Standard Control Organization. And the role of regulatory agencies to have a control on regulatory activities, and that means like control on your clinical trials. Okay, all clinical trial activities. Okay, so this is related to your regulatory agency. And as I mentioned, those who want to make a career, they should have some basic knowledge of medical terminology. And there are many database generally used for clinical data management activity, pharmacovigilance activity. And this database are inbuilt with MEDRA. What do you mean by MEDRA? It's a medical dictionary for regulatory activities. Okay. So, what do you mean by MEDRA? So, there will be a medical coding. Like we all are from, like those who are from pharmacy background, those who are from doctor clinical background. So, those who are from clinical background, like BSMS, BHMS, MBBS doctors, home related doctors. So, they are very much aware about all clinical terminology. But those who are from pharmacy or BSc, MSc, they are not that much, they don't have that much exposure. So generally MEDRA is the, you can say, the also one system where the all medical terminology are universally captured. Medical coding, so we call that as a medical coding. So it's a transformation of the healthcare diagnosis, healthcare diagnosis procedure, medicals, device, equipment in universal medical alphanumeric code. So there will be a code given to each and every terminology. Okay, as I will just give a simple example. We call it like like I'm not feeling well because I'm having fever. So fever, fever is not universally accepted code as per MEDRA. So if I write a fever, so my low level term will be the fever. My preferred term will be the pyrexia. Okay, so likewise, coding has been done under the MEDRA, but there is no need to remember all MEDRA coding because this MEDRA is inbuilt in the database. So just to understand you, whenever during interview, if anyone you ask you what do you mean by MEDRA and why that MEDRA is used, MEDRA is generally used to have universal accepted terminology, be it for like I will say high sugar, but high sugar is not universally accepted terminology, clinical terminology. So it will be a hyperglycemia. If it is low sugar, then it will be hypoglycemia. Likewise. Okay. So this is for MEDRA. Now, now I'll cover this part, which is important for all of you. As I mentioned, TCS comes under BPO KPO. Their cognizance comes under BPO KPO. Nicholas Piramal, which is a parent pharma company, they are doing their PV activity by their own, and they are documenting, and they are outsourcing their some part of business to some outsourcing company. Quintiles is the CRO, Skycormix is the CRO, Accenture is the BPO who is doing the data part of some biotech company and pharma company. You know what is a parent pharma company? They are doing their clinical trials activity by their own, but they are outsourcing some pharmacovigilance and CDM activities to some, you can say, the outsourcing companies. So these are some giant agent in India, and luckily most of them are available in Mumbai. Also TCS is there in Mumbai, Quintas, Primal, Colin, most of them are available. Skyporomix office is there in Mumbai and Pune. No, Accenture office is there in Mumbai and Bangalore. Novartis mainly from they have major offices in Hyderabad, and they have some outsources units in Mumbai. Okay, so why we want to take this as a career opportunity? Because for India there is a huge market, and due to COVID situation, most of us felt like most of in news we are listening like there will be some recession, there will be some impact on the job. But I just wanted to notify you, due to COVID situation, there is a huge demand coming up in future for the clinical trial. Because if you see, all market is down. Only two markets are working. One is our farmers, those who are doing for our food, and the second one are healthcare professional, which involve your pharma company, which involve your doctors, and the world collectively aware that we are very less equipped with all viral and bacterial infection in future. So there will be a definite huge demand in future for all clinical trials, and most of them will working on viral, antiviral drug and antibacterial drug. So whatever numbers I have projected here, these are the old numbers up to 2017. But there will be a many new trials will be coming up in the India. At present, India is the fourth largest producer of pharmaceuticals in the worldwide. Okay, and you can see there are more than 6,000 of licensed drugs are available, and more than 60,000 branded formulations are available. And as I mentioned, these are the old number. Now the number will be definitely more as from that. The pharmacovigilance professional identify the signals in the data that may point toward the potential side effect and probe the case in future. That means whatever adverse reaction that we are giving alarm to a pharma company, okay, they need to work on that, and they need to rectify the problem, and then they need to again do the research, and they need to come up with a safe drug for a human being, for human use. Okay, so how this Indian market is there? Like most of the pharmaceutical companies, MNCs and India, MNCs in India and biotech companies are available in the Indian market. Most of them are clinical research organization. As I gave you example for this Quintiles is one of the major that we have. Snainology is also there, which is a CRO. There are KPO like Accenture's Quintiles comes under KPOs as well, and our TCS and Cognizance. Then regulatory agencies like DCGI and DCGI is a part of your Central Drug Control Standard Organization. There are some opening over there. So most of them, like those who are from pharma background and those who have some experience in pharmaceutical company, so they do have some openings in DCGI, your like a government official unit as well, and the pharmacological units in medical colleges and hospitals. So there are some smaller units available, pharmacological unit. There are some municipal hospital in Mumbai that I aware, like Nair Hospital is there, KM hospitals are there. They have their pharmacological units, so they do offer some jobs for freshers. Okay, so this is for the Indian market. And industrial opportunity, as I mentioned, there are huge industrial opportunity due to the clinical research in India. If you see, there is around 35% of budget was given for 2010 and 12 to conduct the clinical trials in the market. But now the number is increased due to this COVID situation. And this is a recession proof, as I mentioned, because drug development and like anything which is related to health, it will be the first priority and that's why there will be no impact on jobs or opportunities in the industries, those who are planning to make their career in the clinical research organizations. Okay, CROs or any data related, and this is the number for 2010. So if you see in India, so around 706 clinical trial was conducted at that time. Okay, and if you see, okay, so what is this will be your area of more area of interest? Like, what is the eligibility to go in the field of clinical research? So, any doctor, pharmacist, nurses, or any life science graduate can go and make their career in the field of clinical research. That is PV, CDM, regulatory, anything. So what is requirement? Like if anyone is doing any diploma or degree course in clinical trial, that will be a added advantage if you are doing any clinical trial related, because that will give you a basic knowledge and information about your all clinical terminology, and that will definitely help you during your interview. And this is not mean like if you have any degree and diploma certificate, there will be no interview. It's not that. But if you have any diploma or degree specifically related to any clinical research or any trial, so it was expected that you are aware about all the terminology and facts and figures of clinical research, and accordingly the question will be asked, and if you are good enough to answer that question, then yeah, then that will definitely help you to clear the interview. Then how to prepare you for an interview? So all basic concept of clinical research and regulatory terminology, as I told you, like all clinical research related terminology is available on internet. If you can just go and search clinical research terminology, you will get the list. But my sincere request is that like not just go and mug up the definition. Try to understand the definition. What is exactly that term is telling you? That is like, for example, I will just give a simple example that we already covered. What do you mean by the pharmacovigilance? So, student like those who are appearing for the interview, they will straightforward say the answer. It's a process of detection, analysis, monitoring of adverse drug reaction. Okay. Then my next question will be, what do you mean by adverse drug reaction? So those who go into detail, they give the definition of adverse drug reaction. Also, it's an untoward, unintended reaction with the same therapeutic drug for the patient. Then I again will go to further detail. So what do you mean by untoward and unintended reaction? So likewise, if you are reading any definition, try to reading the definition and just remembering the definition and to understand the definition. These are the two different facts. Okay, so I will request everyone, those who want to make a career, just whatever terms that you are reading for the clinical research and especially for the interview, you should understand the terminology, and you should find the exact meaning. If you're not, then try to search, and those who are nearby you, those who are having some experience, you can just ask, and but do not go with half knowledge. That will be a very dangerous. Okay. So any professional certification, as I mentioned, if you have any degree or diploma courses, that will also added benefit. But the main requirement that you should have basic conceptual understanding of all clinical research terminology. And the second most important factor, that you should have a good written and verbal communication. Written communication, whenever you are going for any clinical research interview, there should be first there should be a aptitude test which involve your basic aptitude, and then specific questions on, if you are appearing for pharmacovigilance, there will be specific questions on pharmacovigilance. If you are appearing for CDM, there will be a specific question on the CDM. Most of the time, these are the MCQ question, but sometimes they want to see, sometimes they want to check your verbal and written communication also. So they will give some paragraphs, and you need to write, you can say, the narrative from that paragraph. So your written communication is also important. You should very much fine with your past, your tenses, and then your spelling and everything. Okay, and verbal communication is required because most of these are outsourcing business. So we have most of the time we have client call once in a week or twice in a week, and we need to interact with the customer. So you should understand the requirement from the customer, and if you have any questions and query, you need to communicate very well so that they can able to answer your questions and query. So that's why written communication and verbal communication is most important. Okay, as I mentioned, there are some data generally used, and these are the, you can say, the some favorite question generally asked in PV or CDM. Most of the time, PV they ask what are the different type of database available. So all these database are Oracle database. Okay, means whatever data entry we are doing in this database. One is aware application of worldwide AE reporting, that is adverse event reporting and evaluation system. Another one is RAG, Adverse Reaction Information System Global. The third one is Argus, Adverse Report Gathering and Updating System. So these are three major database. There are some database which are customized database, but that customized database is as per the requirement of a pharma company, or you can say the KPO or BPO, but that are not universal database, that are customized database, but these are the universal database. Okay, and this is the career track. Those who are going to make a career in the field of clinical research, these are the career track. So if you are going for some data, that is maybe for PV or maybe for clinical research, for CDM, you will start as a data coordinator or maybe a trainee junior data analyst. Then you will be promoted as a biostatistician in the CDM, under CDM, or maybe you will be a junior data analyst. Then you will move forward to study design if you are there in CRO. Okay, and in PV you will move for data like a process executive. Okay, then you will, like as per your experience, you will move to a data analyst, then you will be data manager, and you will be a project manager. So this is the basic career skeleton. You can start your career from, like this is in case of the CRO, clinical research organization, you will be a clinical research coordinator as a fresher. After some because from one position to next position, generally it will take 1.5 or 2 years. It depend on your performance, it depend on your quality that you are doing, and it depend on your work that you are doing with a fine quality. Okay, so clinical research coordinator will be your initial stage. Then you will clinical trial assistant, then your clinical site monitor, you will monitor that site. Then you are clinical research associate for phase 1, 2, and 3. Then you will be a senior clinical research associate. Then you will be promoted as a project manager, and likewise there will be a different role. This is for mainly for principal investigator, those who are from those who are doctors, mainly for MBBS doctor, and some in some case for BDS, BMS doctor, also drug safety officer. Then you are co-investigator, then you will be a medical monitor, and then you will be a principal investigator likewise. Okay, so yes, industry that you are looking for, there will be a pharmaceutical majority career options under the pharmaceutical industry. If we see, then 26% of contract research organization, around 20% are some clinical study investigation sites, academic medical research and facility, and there are some other options where you can see your career. What are different facilities, services are provided under the CRs, clinical research organization. As I mentioned, clinical research organization is a unit which can give end-to-end all facilities of clinical trials. Okay, which start from concept and strategy development. Okay, protocol development, concept and strategy development, then budget for your clinical trial, then essential study documents. So what are the documents required for your clinical trial? Then site contract, budget, and expense of management. That means which site you need to select for clinical trial, like a volunteer from the phase 1, 2, 3. Okay, then budget and contract negotiation. What will be the budget for that clinical trial for that particular location? Then legal consulting, if anything, like legal formalities as that we need to support. Then investigation review board, whatever documentation are there that we need to support. Then healthcare compliance, then we need to see the for all patient, we need to see the healthcare compliance also, regulatory compliance and submission on time, study monitoring, whatever study are there that we need to monitor. So likewise, CRO, most of the CRO will give all type of services, and those who are going to any CRO, they can be fit into any role, any department as per you can say the expertise that particular person is having. And there is another field called research staffing. The CRO is the unit which is practically doing the part of the clinical trial. But this is outsourcing research staffing solutions. They are like a consultant. They will provide a clinical research coordinator. They will provide a person who is specially trained on the clinical research coordinator, the person who is specially trained on project management activity, means the person who can take care of all clinical trial activities and related thing. Person who is specially trained on clinical research specialist, like who is conducting the trial. Then statisticians who is doing the calculation part of clinical trial, and nurses, research nurses, generally you required to remove the blood, to maintain the hygiene for patients and volunteers. So likewise, this is one more career opportunity. Okay, so in a nutshell, I think we are covered what is the area of clinical research and what are the different opportunities that you have in the field of clinical research. And I think we have covered most of the things as per the session and as per the agenda. So I think I can open for some questions. So we can have question like in 5 minutes. I
Yes,
just
Sachin.
if you have it. Yeah.
Yes, yes. We will cover 4 to 5 questions because now we are
Yes.
running out of time.
Sure.
So, Hande, we will cover 4 to 5 questions. Okay, sir?
Sure. Sure. Sure.
Yeah. Then I
Let me know.
request, I request Poonam madam to ask questions.
Uh,
What if got
okay. So
opportunity?
okay, so I saw this question from Swati. Okay, if we got the opportunity for pharmacovigilance, can we shift to a clinical research field? Okay, so Swati, like clinical research is altogether a big umbrella. Okay, so under clinical research, the pharmacovigilance is there. And if you want to move from pharmacovigilance to clinical data management, or from clinical data management to regulatory affair, you can move. But requirement is that if you are getting exposure, because like in pharmacovigilance, to make a good career, so like as per my experience, you should spend at least 10 years under the pharmacovigilance. Then only you will have a good exposure to all the different sections of pharmacovigilance. Because pharmacovigilance is one bracket where first when any person is going, they will go as a simple data entry person. After 2 to 3 years, that person will move to you can say the single case assessment, where the assessment has to be done for each case. After that, the person has to move to QC, and then that means quality assurance or quality control of cases. Then person has to move to causality analysis. Then person has to move to a specialty called as narrative writing. So to cover this type of career opportunity, it is always recommended that we need to go, if whatever field that you are selected, like if you selected the CRO as your career option. Because as I showed in the last slide, CRO covers most of the part, which covers your clinical trial from first to third. So you can be you can see the clinical research associate initially, which are the part of your clinical trial. You can take a good amount of exposure, good amount of experience of a clinical trial for phase first, second, third. Then you can move to your BAB study. Then you can move to documentation part. So there are many opportunity. Yes, you can move to from pharmacovigilance to any other career, but the basic requirement is that you should justify your movement, why you want to move. And second thing, that like if you are moving from pharmacovigilance to any other department, you should justify what you learned in the pharmacovigilance and what you want to learn in your next department. So that is one requirement. Okay.
So the next
So there is,
question,
yeah.
yeah. So the second question from Anushka Taggi, she's asking whether there is a need to learn machine learning for growth in CDM.
Yeah, this is a good question, Anushka. Thanks for that. As we all are moving to a new era where most of the things are automated. Okay, because when I joined this career of pharmacovigilance in 2008, where the most of the things are manual. Whatever I am doing, whatever I did in pharmacovigilance in 2008 and 2009, most of the things that we need to put in the database are manual. But nowadays there are many database who captured, we call that as machine learning. Robotic automation is another term, where the most of the things are captured by machine itself. Okay, but yes, there will not be 100%. You can say the 100% automation in the system, because whatever machine is capturing, okay, someone has to be there to cross verify whatever information is captured in the machine is correct. Because what machine is capturing, so machine is only capturing the data. Okay, whatever data is available, machine is capturing that data. But there should be a qualified person. We generally call in pharmacovigilance a qualified person for pharmacovigilance. Likewise, there are qualified person for CDM also. So they need to cross check whatever data is available and captured by machine, it is correct. And if anyone is learning about the machine learning in the field of before entering the field, that will be the, I think, very very good added advantage, because the machine learning and robotic automation process is the new era. And just to add you on that same question, there will be one concept called as big data. Okay, so what does this big data means? Big data will cover everything under one umbrella. Now what happen, some companies are doing the pharmacological activity, some companies are doing, suppose I am the owner of one company, pharma company. I have given my pharmacological activity to one CRO, then I have given my CDM activity to another CRO. So my data, same data is there with a different organization. Now with the concept of big data, everything will be there in under one umbrella. So the big data, one part is machine learning. So those who aware, or those who want to make a career in field of clinical research, and if you are aware about the big data, machine learning, that will be a very very good added advantage. Okay.
Okay, very nicely explained, sir. The next question is from Shweta Mhatre. She's asking which types of event include in SAE.
Okay, so this is specifically related to pharmacovigilance, Shweta. So I will going to cover that is tomorrow. But just to answer your question, so SE is a serious adverse event. There are main five criteria, where first is the any event which leading to a death. Second criteria, it will be a life threatening. Okay, the first criteria will be that. The second will be, it will be life threatening. Third will be which cause the prolonged hospitalization. Fourth will be congenital anomaly, like as we have the example of thalidomide, where the patient is taking drug, but event is occurring to their fetus. Their you can say, 1 minute. Charging. Okay. Okay. So to the fetus, and there are some carcinogenic effects. So these are the five criteria for SEs. Okay. Any more question?
Yes, sir. Next question is from Swati Batra.
Uh,
She is
I
asking,
think it is. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
We already covered this question.
okay. Is there new question, Ajay sir? Okay,
No, madam. Now it is over.
Hmm.
There are no more questions, madam.
okay, sir. Okay, dear participants, I forgot to mention to be ready with pen and paper to take notes. Hope you all have taken noted all the points that given by Sachin sir. And I hope the participants cleared all the concepts related to clinical research, clinical trials, ICH, good clinical practices, clinical data management, pharmacovigilance, regulatory agencies, and medical coding. In this short duration, Sachin sir effectively touched all the areas. Sachin sir also tried to resolve maximum of your queries. So here, time comes to conclude the session. So on behalf of Kokang and Pitt Rahul Daggu College of Pharmacy and Research Institute Karjat, I, Poonam Patil, take this opportunity to express my deep sense of gratitude to Mr. Sachin Tagre for this amazing session. Sachin sir very nicely covered all the domains and subdomains in the clinical research field. This would be definitely beneficial to students at this stage to think and prepare for clinical research area as career option. So with permission of all, I conclude today's session. Tomorrow, stay tuned with us on the same time and with same amazing speaker. Till then, stay safe and stay happy. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.